Thank you for listening to BizPod with me, Paul.
And me, Rachel.
Our weekly business English podcast where we talk about the news, social media, and hot topics from a business point of view. You'll get a podcast and links to the articles we discuss. This way you can share your thoughts too. Join us as we discuss what's on our minds this week.
Right, everybody, we have another guest today, and it's Robert Dennis. Robert, welcome.
Hello, Rachel. Hi, Paul.
Hi.
Come on, tell us about yourself. Tell our audience who you are, what you do, why you're here.
Okay, so I am a business English teacher. I've been teaching for many years. I am from the UK. I'm originally from London, and I studied English at Oxford University about 1 million years ago. And I live in Italy. I live in Milan, and I've been here for 17 years. And as I say, I mainly teach business English. So I focus on things like communication skills and meetings and telephoning. And I teach a lot of professional people like lawyers and accountants, a lot of people in the pharmaceutical industry. Also teach students, teenagers, lots of people who are not actually in business, a lot of retired people. That's quite a big market now. A lot of people are retiring and still want to be active. They want to study and learn new things. I have got a website, which maybe I can mention.
Yeah, go for
Which
it.
is called it's called payasyoullearn.com.
Ah, I like that play on pay as you go, pay as you learn. That's lovely.
Exactly. So I always have to explain that basically in the UK, if you have a mobile phone, there's two things you can do. You can have a contract, or you can have what's called pay as you go, which is a kind of no commitment. You can pay and then not pay. So pay as you learn, that was the domain name that I managed to get many years ago. And on that website, I have a complete business English course called the Full Learn Business English course. And I also have a free introductory course that people can sign up for. It's basically got everything you need to know about business English, especially vocabulary, which is quite important. So phrases. So, for example, if you're in a meeting, it's difficult to be in a meeting anyway in a foreign language. The last thing you really want to have to focus on is the language itself. You want to focus on what you're actually talking about. And so I always say to people, the best thing to do is to learn standard business English phrases. So I have tons of those, I have lots and lots of those on my website. Phrases for telephoning and also for job interviews, because I find that a lot of
Oh,
people, they are now especially, a lot of people are learning English or they're improving their English because they want to change their job or maybe want to get a job. It's their first opportunity after graduating, entering the world of work. So I have worked with a lot of students on preparing for job interviews, doing CVs, the curriculum vitae, or resume, as they say in American English, covering letter, which is the letter that you send with your CV when you apply for a job. So basically, on my website, I've got everything that you need, lots of phrases, lots of examples, quite a lot of audio, and I am also adding video. I've done quite a lot of videos on other channels like TikTok and Instagram. And I teach. So basically, I have a lot of students now. Nearly all my teaching is online. So in the past, I used to go into companies, like when I lived in London, I used to run around the city of London, which is the financial district, where if you see photographs of it, you'll see everyone in their bowler hat with their umbrella. So basically,
Where's your umbrella, by the way?
where's my
You
umbrella? That's a
got
very good question. Well, we're in Italy now, so I hardly ever need it. So, um, so basically, yeah, I worked in a lot of companies. I went into banks, insurance companies, teaching. And when I came to Italy, I taught in lots of companies like newspaper offices, fashion companies, because I'm in Milan. I've had a lot of private students. A lot of people seem to be accountants and lawyers, maybe because Italy has a lot of accountants and lawyers. It's quite a bureaucratic country, and you know
Yeah.
you always need professional advice.
Hmm.
But I do find that generally speaking, people are really really interested in learning English. They're interested in learning English anyway, just because it's an
Hmm.
interesting thing to do. And you've got Netflix and you've got Hollywood, and there's lots of reasons for
Hmm.
learning English and Shakespeare. Let's not forget Shakespeare and Charles Dickens. But also, for most people, English it's a tool. It's something that you can really use to get a good job, change
Hmm.
your job, get promotion. So I think
Yeah.
for a lot of people, their main motivation for studying English is it's really work related and also travel. So I think work
Hmm.
and travel are the two main things. And obviously here in Italy, a lot of people do travel for work. So a lot of
Hmm.
people,
Yeah.
maybe before Brexit, more people, but a lot of people moved to the UK.
Hmm.
I also wrote a book which was published in Italy called Business English. And so basically, that book that explains how to get a job, how to go to London, how to find a place to live, and it features a character called the Job Genie, who is basically me, who appears out of a teapot when a guy is doing the dusting, and the Job Genie basically pops up and explains everything that the main character, who's a guy called Angelo, needs to know. So he needs to learn how to get a job and how to do a job
Right.
interview and move to London and work and deal with other people. And there's
So this
some little,
this is the
go on.
perfect book for Italian students who are learning business English who want to go to the UK. They need to buy your book.
I would definitely agree with that.
And
Yeah.
if
I
they
would.
don't
I
buy
would.
Presumably,
your
it's
book,
available in
they
all good bookshops.
yeah.
It is, and also online. It's actually available now as an ebook as
Okay.
well. And it's got a foreword by my great friend John Peter Sloan, who Italian people will know, who I
Hmm.
worked with for about 10 years, and
Hmm.
who, very sadly left us almost exactly 5 years ago. So
Hmm.
he was very, very helpful, and he helped me launch my book. And we miss him. He was a great guy. He was a lot of fun. And I think you interviewed him,
I did, yeah, but
didn't you? Actually,
many, many years
A
ago.
long time ago. Yeah.
But I
I
mean,
met.
so your book is for Italians who are learning business English, but
Yes.
the courses that you offer, I presume that's
Yeah.
any nationality,
Yeah.
not
The
just
course it's just in English, so anyone can
wow.
learn it.
So the
Um,
one-stop shop is the course for anybody,
yeah.
and the book is specifically for Italians who are learning business
Yeah,
English.
exactly. I mean,
Fantastic.
Okay.
there might be an international version of the book, just in English or possibly even in other languages. But at the moment, that book is only really for the Italian market.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
website, payasyoullearn.com, is for anyone. If you've got access to the internet, you can get onto it. You can
Who
use it
hasn't
on your
these days?
PC. Yeah, exactly. You can use it on your phone. It
Well, I'm
works on the
sure.
phone.
Oh
Well,
wow,
we will.
okay, cool.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we will share the links, obviously. But I
Yeah,
want. I
thank
want to
you.
ask you something. You mentioned
Yep.
you went to Oxford.
Yep.
Tell us about your time at Oxford University, because I mean it's one of those prestigious sort of universities. People will be
Yeah.
interested. Well, why did you go to Oxford? What did you learn? Who did you meet, by the
How did you
way?
get
Who was
in?
in
That's
your
what
Who
I
was in
want
your
to know.
year?
That's okay. That's interesting. So basically, what happened was, I don't come from an academic family, and most of the people in my family didn't actually go to university. So when I was at school, people said to me, I was quite interested in English language and literature, and people said, "Oh, you should really apply for Oxford." And I thought, that's probably not going to happen. But I basically you have to do an exam when you apply to Oxford and Cambridge. They have an entrance exam,
Okay.
and it's a strange exam. And you also have an interview, and some of these interviews are famously bizarre, and you get asked very very strange questions. So basically, I did the exam, did the interview, and I got in. I was accepted. and I was there for 3 years. So in the UK, when you study for a degree, which is the a college degree, as they say in American English, that's the bachelor's degree. It's the first level of university education. It's for 3 years, and for most people, that's it. You do 3 years at university. If you want to, you can then go on and do a master's degree, which is 1 to 2 years. In Italy, if you don't do a master's degree, people assume you haven't really finished your education. But in the UK, 3 years. In fact, they're always talking about reducing the time. They say, well, 3 years is a long time, isn't it? Why don't they do it 2 years? When we do it in 1 year. So in the UK, they're always trying to, make degree courses shorter. So basically, I went there. I read a lot of English. I studied English. I studied the Oxford English course starts with Anglo-Saxon. So it starts with Beowulf, which is an epic
Wow.
poem. Yeah, it was all about the Anglo-Saxons and monsters, and it's very, very strange. It's also a film with Angelina Jolie and Sean Bean. It's one of those strange semi-animated film, if you
Sean
can
Bean
find it.
gets
Yeah,
everywhere, doesn't he?
he
He's in all
does,
those
doesn't he?
movies.
Yeah, it's
Always with the same Yorkshire accent.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Actually, yeah, it kind of it prefigures Game of Thrones actually because it is sort of in fact things like Game of Thrones. And when I was at university at Oxford, we used to go to a pub called the Eagle and Child. It's a very famous old-fashioned pub where you can drink beer, and that is where Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien, and C.S. Lewis, who were both professors at Oxford University, both taught English. They used to go there, and they had a little club called the Inklings. So they used to meet
All
regularly
right.
and drink beer and share their stories because no one was really interested in these sort of strange, obscure stories about hobbits and elves and talking lions, and people thought that was a really strange, obscure thing to do. And so basically, that's where they pitched all their ideas to each other and developed their stories. And of course, eventually, much later, those became like incredibly popular, what we would now call
Yeah.
franchises. I don't think C.S. Lewis or Tolkien would have referred to their works as franchises, but then they became like these massive Hollywood movies. And in fact, a few days ago, I was in Milan. I had to get a thing for my computer, and I got into a conversation with this guy in the shop who's this massive Lord of the Rings fan. So he was standing there. He was sort of explaining to me. I mean, no, I know I've read bits and pieces of it. I read The Hobbit, but he was sort of going into detail about the world of Tolkien. So it's strange how it started from literally these two, academics meeting in the pub in Oxford into this massive multi-billion dollar, franchise with all these
Franchise, yeah.
films. Yeah, yeah.
I
So
think franchise is like it's obviously it's a business term rather than a
yeah,
literary term, isn't it?
it is. Although I've got to say now, like Harry Potter. I'm actually I wasn't a fan of Harry Potter when it came out, but I have actually been listening to Stephen Fry, who is a very famous English um, comedian and actor and sort of genius and writer, and he reads all the Harry Potter novels. I don't know if I can say it. Can I say it on Audible? Which is
Yeah.
the audiobook division of Zoom. I actually did some podcasts with John Peter Sloan for Audible on the Italian site. So basically, it's great listening to Stephen Fry reading the Harry Potter series, and he does all the voices, and he even does Robbie Cole. He does like an impression of Robbie Coltrane when he does Hagrid. He actually
Right.
sounds
Okay.
like Robbie Coltrane because he was his friend. He knew him and everything. And it's really, really good. So, in fact, as a little tip for people learning English, audiobooks are really good because you get someone reading the book and you can just like listen to it. If you want, you can follow it as well. So you can listen and read as you're listening. And they're a really nice resource. So I would recommend listening to audiobooks, and also obviously like Netflix, and Amazon Prime Video and Disney Plus and all the other streaming services. They're very, very useful for people learning English because you can change the language,
Hmm.
you can
Yeah.
change the subtitles, you can
Hmm.
watch the thing, in English with English subtitles, or watch it in
Yeah.
English with your language. So I would recommend that people experiment with lots of different platforms, and obviously the BizPod podcast as well. Listen to that.
Of
That's
course.
that's actually one of the best. So I'm delighted. I'm honoured to be part of the project. But yeah, podcasts are kind of the big revelation of the sort of technological era that
Yeah.
people like listening. I think they like, especially if like they're in bed or driving or the kitchen or something.
When we came to Italy, we didn't have TV for the first year. We didn't have internet, but we did have the radio, and we were
Yeah.
obviously I studied some Italian before we came here.
Yeah,
Paul, you
yeah,
didn't know any Italian, did you? But we used to listen
No.
to commercial radio because
Yeah.
every 15 minutes you got adverts and they kept repeating them. So you got
yeah.
like scarpe, scarpe, and everything going in your ear. And then we started watching, when we got TV, we started watching Jerry Scotti with Chi vuole essere milionario, didn't we? It must have been
Wow.
because you got
Yeah.
time to listen to the question, look at the question, get the
Yeah, yeah,
dictionary
that's
and
true.
find what it meant. So
We had
we
loads
always
of fun doing
suggest
that, didn't we?
we did. We always suggested to our students to watch game shows, English game shows.
Yeah, that's a very good idea, actually.
There's
Yeah,
loads on YouTube of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and it
yeah,
helped
yeah,
us for Italian. But
yeah, definitely.
mm,
Actually, when I did the first project that I did with John Peter Sloan. It was a series for an Italian newspaper called the La Repubblica, and they had a Italian newspapers. They do this thing where they sell like a little book with a DVD every week, and so you buy the newspaper, and then you can also buy the book and the DVD. And he did a series called Speak Now for Work, and basically, I have you read it? Have you got it?
I bought
It's, I
it.
mean,
I bought the whole series.
this. I mean, it was it's good. It was like it's really really interesting project. It's really useful material, and we actually one of the things we had on that was there's a quiz. There's like a sort of business quiz, which is actually called Workaholics. Uh, so these people come on the business and they ask them sort of stupid questions, and they have to sort of reply. Um, so yeah, in fact, quizzes are really, really good. They're
Yeah.
engaging people. I mean, in fact, if any teachers listening, always do a quiz in your lesson because people like quizzes, and make the questions sort of real questions, so like with surprising facts or did you know type questions. Um, so yeah, I agree with you that things like predictable formats, things like quiz shows are very good, especially the one that you mentioned, "Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?" Because the first questions are always very very simple, um, except they're not. If you're not a
No.
native speaker, the when you listen to the English ones, they're questions that everyone knows because they know English.
Yeah, there's
But in other languages,
cultural, isn't
yeah,
there?
yeah,
There's some
those
you
ones
learn
could
about the
actually be like the
culture.
most difficult questions.
Hmm.
Yeah, because they're sort of like usually about sort of common sayings and
Hmm.
idioms and things like that
Hmm.
you might not know. So that's a really useful idea. Yeah, and I agree. Anything that's repetitive,
Hmm.
including things like fairy tales. So reading children's literature, even if you're not a child, seems a bit strange. But in fact, things like nursery rhymes, fairy tales, even things like songs are good because they're
Hmm.
repetitive and you get the chorus.
Hmm.
And in fact, I've had a lot of students who've learned tons of English from listening to songs, and they know all the
Hmm.
lyrics to Beatles songs, and so things like Imagine by John Lennon. So
Yeah.
basically, any resource that anything is good. Anything that you're interested in is really really good.
Hmm.
Lots of
Um,
Italians are into Pink Floyd for some reason.
they
I've never
are. They
understood.
love.
I've never
Yeah.
understood why Pink Floyd was so popular.
That's a very good question. In fact, a friend of mine in Milan, he's a huge Pink Floyd fan. They organised an exhibition and he works with like tribute bands promoting them and all that sort of thing. And it's true, there's a big Anglophile community. I mean, anything from the UK in Italy is actually just incredibly popular, and even like really obscure things. Like sometimes you get into conversations with people who watch like very obscure, films or children's TV programs from the 80s, or
Yeah.
comics, or I don't know, video games. So there is a huge kind of appetite for English. And of course, that's how, a good way of learning the language. So it's not, you don't just learn English by sitting down with an exercise book and a
Mm,
dictionary,
mhm, mhm.
translating everything. And a lot of people, learn English at school. In fact, most Italians do learn English at school, but the material that they're using isn't probably that realistic. It's not something they're necessarily interested in. So as an adult learner, if you find things that you're interested in, um, even if they're not directly related to work, it's all part of the language. It's all part of improving your ability. So basically, just whatever whatever we say in English, whatever turns you on as a phrasal verb. So whatever makes you excited, it's got slightly other different meanings, but basically, if it makes you excited and and passionate about learning, then go for it and read it, listen to it. And now you've got so many resources online as well, apps, and even now you've got the AI tutors. Even actually, ChatGPT is becoming like an obsession. So if you use ChatGPT in English for 5% of the week, that's a tip. Okay, because ChatGPT speaks English, so you
I'll
can ask
take
it
your chat
anything.
GPT and I'll raise you Gemini because Gemini actually has a learning coach
Oh
as
wow,
one of
really?
its, yeah, I've been doing my Italian with it. You can actually, it is there specifically ready to engage with you in whatever language you want to learn and practice. It tells you loads of different concepts and you can
Oh
talk
wow.
to it and it will talk back to you. You don't have to type. It's amazing.
God, right, I'll try that. I'll check that out. Of course, these, as an English teacher, as English teachers, we're a bit worried because these, could take our jobs. But then
The
I always say to
technology
my,
is going to overtake us, I think,
yeah, the
definitely,
thing is,
eventually.
Yeah.
if AI can take over English teaching, then really it can take over anything. So
Yeah.
do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's not like there's. I mean, at the moment, I used to do a lot of translation and copyright. Translations sort of died, actually.
Oh
Very few
God, tell me
people
about it.
want
I did.
translation. Yeah.
Yeah, and proofreading when you're checking
Mm.
people's writing. I
God,
used to do
yeah.
loads for universities.
Yeah.
And there's no need anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
mm,
Exactly.
I I was gonna say,
We've
I
been.
think we've got. I keep saying to Paul, I think we've got 5 years, and then we're gone.
Make the
um.
most of it then, shall we? Let's get on
Yeah. Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok is
Yeah.
obviously the future.
Yeah.
Oh
No,
my
definitely.
God.
Actually, TikTok is a revelation because sometimes, like most people's impression of TikTok is that it's this kind of like, teenage influencers and that sort of thing. But in fact, you suddenly find like sort of heavyweight intellectuals, academics, people from the past. Do you remember Nick Leeson, the guy who
Oh God.
broke
Yeah.
Barings Bank? Right, he just suddenly turned up. That's another phrasal verb. That means to appear. He just suddenly turned up on TikTok talking about his life. And he had like this really strange life because this is the guy who crashed the Queen's Bank in the 80s and or maybe early 90s, and basically went to prison. He went on the run, and he was living in. He was brought back to Singapore, and he just turned up. He's just like he was just suddenly on TikTok, and you find the other thing that's really really good on TikTok is The Economist and the BBC and all the newspapers, the Times as well. They have like little 30-second videos or even a couple of minutes. Um, well, obviously, you should subscribe and buy the newspaper.
Yeah.
But even if you don't, they're really high quality materials. So TikTok um, is really really useful. I mean, for anything is useful. They're all
Yeah.
resources, and basically find stuff that you're interested in, bookmark it, save it,
I think we should be on TikTok then. I think we've got to get on TikTok. Rachel's saying no. No, are we too old for TikTok, do you think?
Definitely not too old for TikTok.
Right.
TikTok
That's going to be my mission. I'm going to own TikTok.
I actually did some videos on TikTok.
Yeah. I hate social media. Well, you've read the book, Robert. I say in the book, I hate social media, but I'll go where my students are. TikTok, no.
Well, the thing about TikTok and Instagram is that you can use material that you've already created. So if you've got videos, you can basically slice them into the TikTok, vertical portrait shape and add them. Because obviously on TikTok you get, like, for example, clips from like 1980s British 1980s comedies. That someone's just basically edited all the video and put it onto TikTok. So yeah, basically social media, you need to be selective, and we have this expression in English, which is doom scrolling, which you probably talked about on BizPod, haven't you? Yeah. So basically, doom scrolling is where you're basically sitting, and you sort of scroll endlessly, scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Scrolling means when you move your screen up using your thumb, and you're basically you never get to the end. I mean, it was a brilliant design. Whoever thought of that was absolutely brilliant. You never get to the end.
It never ends.
Yeah, there's no bottom of the page.
This very morning, didn't I say I'm doom scrolling? I'm going down the rabbit hole was the thing I said. I was on Pinterest, wasn't I?
Oh, right.
Okay. You were going down that rabbit hole, were you?
Yeah, and I was just like, no, put it down, put your phone away.
Yeah. It's I mean, in a way, it's designed to be addictive. And we have another word in English which is moreish. So if you say moreish, it means that, for example, if you're eating something like peanuts or M&Ms or something small, you eat one, and then you have another one, and you have one more, and you have one more. So we say moreish, and you can't stop. And I think that's definitely, that. I mean, okay, so that is a problem with social media, because obviously, if you're looking at negative stuff, then you can't stop looking at negative things.
But, I think we better end on a positive now, though. Robert, it's been so much fun speaking to you. I'm sure we could speak to you for another 20, 30 minutes, no problem. But I think people have got a nice flavor of your voice and how you talk, and obviously how you teach. So that we're going to share all of your resources with people if they want to come and find you and connect with you. That would be great. And we've got to do the image, because people, you've got to see him. He's sat here talking to us with a bowler hat on. He's so English. It's amazing.
So thanks for coming to visit us, Robert.
Well, thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Paul. It's been a great opportunity, and I've enjoyed our chat. And hopefully we'll be doing this again sometime. And thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
All right, then we'll say bye. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks for listening. We hope you liked our podcast, and please don't forget to subscribe and stay connected with us. Until next time, goodbye.